everybody. Hello, everybody. Irisu?
Oh, hello.
There we go. There we go. That's what I expect from a frog. So quiet in the rainforest. Hmm. Oh yeah. All right. Let's see. Oh yeah. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sir. This is an interview podcast, and yes, if you were to abbreviate that, it would be STI. Now, here we interview VTubers, big or small, on their experiences as or after being a VTuber and what got them into VTubing, their attitudes towards VTubing as work, community, and a marketplace. We also aim to abide by oral history methodologies to maintain a level of chronology, narrative, and ethics, but we're always open to being everywhere with everything at once because of how chaotic VTubing can be, as well as the personalities that reign it. Also, note we are not alone in these interviews. During the water break portion of the interview, the chat has a chance to question the interviewee, providing us either trivial or in depth insights into the life of our fun and complex individual of the day. Also, for those VTubers that want to come on, our scheduling is still open. If you wish to share your story, send a message to the email in the description below alongside our interviewee's socials or find it on this channel's About page, and we'll figure out a date and time. The only qualifications as of now are having a model, a following of or around 100 on Twitch or YouTube, give or take. There's always exceptions, and or experience in some level of content creation, whether it be streaming or prepared content. I feel like I did that very well, that little spiel very well. Don't you agree?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
done spiels like that multiple times, and you nailed
Good.
it.
Good. Awesome. 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 So, Ipsu, how's it going?
It's going good. What we talked about in the pre-stream, my phone is deleting itself very slowly.
Yes,
So,
we are slowly. we have fail safes just in case that happens.
yes,
Something happens, you know. You want a green tic tac?
I would love a green Tic Tac. Thank
I
you.
feel like you're a green tic tac kind of frog, you know.
I mean, looking at my hands, maybe just a little bit.
A little bit, a little bit. sorry, sorry about now. I had to need a little bit of a mic readjustment, real quick.
Okay,
Now,
I thought you were drinking, so I was like, okay, it's time to hydrate as well.
oh, that too, a little bit of hydration just to start, and before I ask any further questions, how about you introduce yourself, pronouns, and what you do as a VTuber?
Well, my name is Irisu, otherwise known as Irisu Neo, and I am, well, I go by she, her. I was going to say I am a she, her. And I create largely Twitch content in the form of interviewing other VTubers. Well, content creators in general, but it's harder to get someone who's a flesh tuber onto a show with someone who's a VTuber.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I try to stream 2 days a week, Tuesdays and Fridays, and if I have time in between, I usually have another guest on because it's been a lot of fun working with other people rather than just doing it all on my own.
Of course, it would be. Now, how many eggs can you eat in one sitting?
It really depends on what kind of eggs they are. If
Kind of
they are like soft boiled, I'd say I could probably eat 5 before I start to feel really sick.
5. That's a good number. You know, my favorite number.
Really? 5
Mm,
is your favorite number?
yes, 5 tens. You know, it feels more complete, feels more whole.
Okay, I
Mm-hmm.
could get behind that.
Now, how did you get into this genre of streaming?
um, it's funny because last night I was reminiscing about it. Not related to this at all. I was just thinking about how did I get from where I was to where I am now, and I was looking through old clips, and I remembered that back then when I was just playing games all the time, I felt incomplete. like I couldn't I couldn't push my mark anywhere. Like I wasn't unique enough. And I thought to myself, well, maybe talking to other people and starting up an interview show would be a good way to like really get my personality in and do something that requires a lot of effort versus I just turned on a game and now I'm playing it. So
Mm. That's also a very direct, like, human connection.
yeah,
Mm.
it was a lot of fun starting out, and it still is. But it's every time I find it gets a little bit harder because uh, people are unique and they all work in different ways. And sometimes you get some people who are like the chattiest and they talk a bunch and you can hold conversations with them very well. Sometimes they dominate the conversation and it's
Mm.
great. Other times you get the person who has one word responses and it's hard to get them out of their shell. So I see it as kind of like a puzzle almost to like match the vibe of my guest as best I can. If not, well,
Mm.
it is what it is.
Yes, yes, yeah. Build up a little bit of a rapport in order to draw out what they want to, what they can, talk about.
Yeah, it's definitely taught me that I'm way more skilled at human interaction than I thought I was.
Okay, okay. Sometimes you have to put in the work in order to just figure that out. You know,
Mhm.
you
Yeah,
need to see the
definitely.
proof in order for it to for your for the brain cells to fire off, the synapses to connect. Now, I do recall reading in your Scritch, no, no, not Scritch, Twitch about page that your channel is the magnum opus of your content career. First and foremost, what does magnum opus mean to you?
um, I think when I wrote it, I'm not sure if I've updated it since, but when I wrote it, to me it meant I wasn't going to worry about uploading to YouTube very often. Everything that I did was going to be on Twitch. Um, and then the further I got into it, the more I realized that that's not a very realistic goal if I want to be more popular or a hit partner. So that has changed since then. I gotta go update that.
Hey, hey, hey! I'm here to tell you what to update on. Then,
Yeah, because
huh?
it's my partner points it out all the time that I think it still says up and coming. I've been doing it. I'm not up and coming anymore.
Mm?
Um, so
You've been coming. I'm sure.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's I've been at it for a year and a half now. No, no, actually longer. The year has already flown on by. I'm almost at it for 2 years,
Mm.
and it's it's definitely been a journey. I've met a lot of people. Uh,
Mm.
so, some good, some bad, some people who hate me, some people who love me, and that I can consider very close friends. Um, it's been a lot of fun.
Mm. Could you share what you were doing before your channel?
So before I started VTubing, I was just a normal YouTuber. I will give the name here because it's not really important anymore. I sometimes bring it up on streams, but I used to do Let's Plays because when I was growing up, around 12 years old, that was the all the rage. So when I finally got my job 6 years later, and I started doing all of that, I got hit with reality that unfortunately Let's Plays are a thing of the past. So 2012. And I couldn't keep up anymore. Um, but in the real life, I got married, uh, had a good 2 year run, and then um, eventually I had a falling out with that person. And when I was on my path of self discovery, following that, um, I realized just how much I didn't feel comfortable in my body and the name that I had. And I experimented for a little bit. I did things like shave and trim up my nails, make them look pretty. I realized that I was trans, and um, a little bit after that realization, I came across VTubers. Like I knew they existed, but I didn't know they existed that accessibly, and I got the idea in my brain that to live this trans femme idea that I want, I could start VTubing, and that's what I did. I started off as a little frog PNG, and I got really far on Twitter before I started streaming. So instantly hit affiliate on Twitch, and then just did my own thing from there at that point.
During the time, at least during the time, at least during the time, before your frog VTuber stars, what skills did you develop during this time?
So I've always been a chef in the real life by trade. I have about 9 years cooking experience, and um, that's like the majority of my skill set. If I was an artist in anything, it was cooking. I really devoted my life to it. And then as I went through the motions, I had my breakup. I realized that what I was doing in my life wasn't really for me anymore. So I dabbled in a bunch of other things. I'd always been decently good at video editing, so I increased my skill level on that. I bumped it up a few points. I really got into like Photoshop and photo editing, making thumbnails, making things look pretty. I could literally do one technique and dedicate myself for like 6 hours to it. It's a lot of fun to learn those types of things for me. Otherwise, I started dedicating myself very heavily to Magic the Gathering before I started streaming, and I lost myself on that. I basically used it as a cope. I spent a bunch of money making Magic decks, and it helped. It helped getting me to a different space. I got to enjoy myself a little bit more, and then I've since then like weaned off of it, taken a little bit of a break. So
Yeah, no, it's just like I know of another VTuber called like Cirrus that is very big on like MTG. So yeah,
mhm.
yeah, it's a very common thing amongst VTubers. I'm finding alongside D&D, of course. But yeah,
I
going back.
mean,
Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
D&D, Magic is one thing because it's just a card game. A lot of people, it's very social, right? But D&D, that's kind of what we do like all the time. It doesn't matter how hard you go into the lore of your character or how much you live it. You are living a different character when you're streaming, as a VTuber at least. So
What's your wisdom score right
um with my life experiences, despite my age, I'm feeling like I'm a solid like 15 or 16, either
now?
a
15 or
plus 2,
16?
plus 3 there.
Ah, I see, I see. And what kind of class are you?
Um, I'm that one's hard. I like this question.
Uh,
Um, Honestly, I see myself as like it's gonna sound really silly, as a bard, but without all the
all
the seducing jokes.
the libido, if you will.
Oh yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I can definitely be kinky, but
Oh, undoubtedly, everyone can. But But going back to at least the LGBTQ area of what you mentioned. I know that I want to say I know that your community, in addition to your mutuals, are definitely a part of that group. Correct? Is that a good assertion or?
Oh yes.
Uh-huh.
I I only have, I believe, one close straight friend.
I got that. literally dropping the bucket now, huh?
And they're great. They're wonderful. I
Uh,
love them.
but yeah, could you guess guess why or uh, what attracts LGBTQ folk to VTubing, or at least the idea of VTubing or being a VTuber?
it's it's definitely the identity.
Mm.
Um, I've thought about it a lot, and that it always points back to for me myself, when I started, I wanted to feel like a woman. I wanted to look pretty, and even if I am an anime girl, I get to live it out, right? Um, and when I stepped into that role, all of a sudden my doubt like washed away. And on top of that, VTubers as a whole, despite what we may see on Twitter, because Twitter's a little bit of a mess, VTubers are very, very close. The net is cast, and you'll find yourself in a certain subsection of VTubers. Very welcoming people, very kind, and like when you're persecuted, and even though it is getting a little bit better in the modern day, community is like the only way to really gain strength and traction. So I think it's that combo of that identity and the community that really it's appealing. It's attractive when you get to see people who are just accepting you for who you are, whether you're he, she, they, it, they, fear, any pronouns, anything that you are. They look at you and it's just, but you're you. So
And how would you describe your current community?
um, I I would say that we're like very strong in that regard. Um, I'm always very accepting. I try to accept as many people in as I can. Um, that pass my proverbial vibe check, because beyond what people identify as, there's still a person, and some people just don't mesh well with others. It's inevitable.
Mm.
But overall, I've had very little issues. Um, it's hard to speak of like my community because I let them be them. I would like to think that we're pretty strong. So and good, healthy, uh, no toxicity. So
Mm. Uh,
aside from me, I'm
Dra-
the toxic one.
of course, of course. As the title of this stream notes. Um, Actually, on that topic, or at least in reference to toxicity, I do recall you talking about on Twitter about having like contrasting reception to your recent frog fact theory. So,
Yes.
well, first and foremost, could you describe what the frog fact series is and your intent behind it?
So the morbid frog facts, and I'm still going to do them. It's just been a time constraint for me. Um, it was mostly supposed to be a pun off of the fact that I'm a frog VTuber,
Yeah.
and I give you morbid facts, and that doesn't really have to be about frogs. Though I did do one about frogs, my second one that I did. Um, but the first one I did, it popped off a little bit. It got like 800 views, I believe. It was fun. It was
Mm.
cool. Um, And what I noticed, because I chronically check comments whenever they come in, was that on the YouTube side of things, people are really mean. I I get so many comments that are like, well, but you're a guy, or you're goth. You should just yourself.
Mm.
And on the flip side of things, I get the kindest comments on TikTok. And when I made that post about it, it wasn't like I was upset or anything. I am a very logistical person. I love seeing the patterns, and it got me curious. Like, is the YouTube side meaner overall? Is it like what Blaze says there, Salty? Are they just bots that search for like transgender or whatever? So yeah, that's all that really was. I would like to consider myself very thick-skinned. So a lot of things don't really affect me. A lot of like negative comments. It takes a lot to get under my skin. And YouTube people aren't gonna do that to me.
I feel that it always seems like you need to wear a hazmat suit in order to explore the YouTube comments.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. or sometimes Twitter comments, or I mean, it can happen anywhere. It can happen, even though I said that TikTok was kinder. It still happens there from time to time. On that point, I've always said this, because we live in a mentality, a society that has this mentality of, oh yes, we live in a society where it's the entire group that defines you. And I have always subscribed against that notion, because you can be trans amongst people who are terrible and people that are great. So we need to judge the individual. So like, I could say that TikTok is kinder. You're always going to get somebody who's going to hate on you. It's inevitable. Like, that's just the type of people that there are in this world. So focus your energy and attention on the people who give you the kind words, and not these people who are just going to come in and waste your time. It's just not worth it for you in the long run. So if I see it, I have a chuckle, because it's really dumb that they spend however many seconds typing up or copy pasting their copy pasta into my comment section, when I very easily can just click block, or even sometimes on some platforms it's click block, and I'll focus on the people who wrote a heartfelt comment instead, that took their time to give me like criticism, something valuable, Sorry, I'm very passionate about that subject.
Oh no, I got that. I got that. I would you say you have a very individualistic outlook with these commenters, or at least with within your worldview?
I would say so. There's a lot of exceptions. There are people who are a part of groups where the group does identify you. I'm just trying to think if I could say this out loud. I had an issue earlier in September with someone who's part of a Warhammer 40k group, and they attract a lot of not good people, and the people who identify with that ideology, not the Warhammer 40k, the bad side, if you understand what I mean.
I'm familiar with the in-community politics when it comes down to Warhammer 40k.
Yeah, you sometimes you can't just you can't just join a group and expect not to be judged. the thing that I've subscribed to is actions have consequences. People forget that. There are consequences for every action that you take, and you can't just do something and be like, "Oh, but that isn't really me," or you should forgive and forget. I'm quite the opposite, actually. I would prefer to forgive but never forget, and people think that that's very harsh. But the thing that people don't think about is, if you do it again, I can't just forget that you did it in the past, you know? And I see it all the time. I have a wide net because of the way that I started Twitter. I see so many people that people don't even realize that I see them. And I see repeat offenders all the time. And I keep it all stored up in this little noggin here. But yeah, sorry, that's a little off topic on that front. I would much rather judge people individually, because if, say, for example, for whatever reason, I identified as a Democrat or Republican, not everything I do is going to fall under strictly those categories because I'm an individual. Not saying that I do. I'm just, as an example. And it's for that reason that I'm very apolitical. I don't like the political party system as much as I understand it, because I see so many people just, their identity is Republican or Democrat, and it's frustrating, because you are Iris or you are Blaze. It doesn't really matter where your morals align. You are you. You are not. Your name is not Republican, or whatever it is. So yeah. That's my TED talk on that.
The TED talk. Oh. Now let's jump into more into the mechanical side of it. Specifically with your interviews, structure, style, so on and so forth. Let's start with. I think you mentioned this, but I think maybe we could land a year on this. But when did you start wanting to interview people generally, and how did that evolve into interviewing VTubers?
So when I started conceptualizing my VTuber as a whole, that was 2 years ago, right before Christmas of December 2021. And I did my thing for a whole year. And when I hit November, I stopped streaming because I wasn't confident in my ability to provide compelling content. And then it hit me to try the poison points thing. I came up with this idea in my head, the branding, it all hit me at once in a dream. And I did a lot of planning, a lot of prep, so that when January came around, I could start doing it. I believe I started, my first interview was January 4th, although that is lost of this year.
Oh.
Because I accidentally forgot to save the VOD. It said that it saved and it didn't. So you're actually missing the first ever interview that I did with Benicula.
You got. Oh, wow. Okay. Huh.
Yeah, she agreed because I expressed to her, I had never done this before, ever. I've never interviewed anybody in my whole life, except for family members for school assignments. And but she has a history in podcasting, and agreed to be my other half, as it were. I like to refer to my guest as my other half, because they're half the show. I'm half, they're half. And I apparently did so good that Bonnie thought I had done that for like years. So that was the boost I needed to continue, and it pretty much just spiraled from there.
Mm. Was there any other influencer that inspired you besides Bonnie?
Um, so in terms of doing the podcasting, it's always embarrassing to admit, but my podcast originally came to fruition because I saw a clip of Joe Rogan.
Okay, okay, that's
I don't agree with the guy. He's weird. The way he does his things is very strange. But I fell in love with one aspect of his podcast, which is when he's talking, the camera shifts over to him. When his guest is talking, the camera shifts over to them. And when they're looking at something, the camera shifts over to that. And I thought to myself, how can I do this but live? How could I make the live experience look like it's an edited podcast? To like streamline it and make it easier on myself to upload content. And I also like was thinking to myself, because I was big on the Twitter scene, I know for sure, this is guaranteed fact, people love to talk about themselves.
oh, very much so.
Like it is the truth, both very selfishly and I lost my train of thought because I very selfishly, but also in confidence. They love themselves. They're happy to share their story, and I really wanted to do that because the one aspect of VTubers that not a lot of people do is lore, and talking about how their lore has reflected their model and their character and the way they act. And when that idea snowballed, it became Poison Points. That's what it evolved into. Yeah, I worked on that for 2 months until I was finally ready. Last minute, I got everything prepared, slapped together a stream, and even though like the first stream was not the interview, people loved it. They were so happy to see this model, because this was created for Poison Points, and it was the purest reflection of me, and I was very excited to try something new, try something different. And I gotta say, I love talking to people. I didn't think I ever would, as introvert as I am, but it's been life-changing.
You mentioned that you had some experience interviewing your family members. Did those skills ever help
Nope.
you develop? No, no, no. Okay.
No. The last time I ever did an interview was through like it was a school assignment, and my dad is a veteran. Never served in like a war, just he was in the Navy. And it was like 5th grade, 4th grade, or whatever it was. We had a like a little assignment to interview a war vet, and well, my dad is a vet, so I interviewed him, and that was the last time I did it. That was when I was like probably like 8 or 9, maybe 10 years old. So after that point, I never did it again. I never really talked to anybody like that ever again. So I can only really attribute the fact that I was good at it, like proficient, to my experience as a YouTuber, and playing D&D. Actually, fun fact, because I got very good at improv, and one of my favorite things to do is improv and rolling off of people. And my ability to read energy from people in my D&D group and match their energy, even though there's 3 or 4 different people at the table, I think that's where my biggest strength came from with that.
Mm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I noticed that while watching some of your VODs, would it be appropriate to say that you're very conversational in
Oh,
your interviews?
very much so.
Mm.
I do my best. I'm a my words. What you see right now, like contrary to popular belief, I'm a human. There
You're
have
not a
been
frog?
sometimes.
You're not a frog? If I were
I
to, if I were to not, actually, nah, I'm not. Never mind. Never mind. I was gonna. Would I get high from you?
this is true.
Mm.
Chat has decided. Twitter has decided. Science has decided that if you lick me, yeah, I will make you high, but I could also kill you. So
I got that. Hey, worth it. Anyway,
also, hello, Band.
hey, Bandit, how's it going, my dude? How's the Alaskan bullworm?
I am introverted, so I have my days where I interview people, and it literally takes it out of me. Like I could be in an interview for 30 minutes, and I've just been fully drained. If you've really analyzed some of my interviews, you'll see it because I sometimes allow my guest to completely dominate, which I will say is not like it's not bad. It's just it is your show, and you should let yourself come out as well. And I've had some moments that I was disappointed in myself, and I was sad for a few days about it. And then I went to the next interview and did it better. You know, that's the only way to go about it. Actually, oh, go ahead.
Do you experience these cycles of like, what's the word? What would be the best word to describe it? What do you happen? Do you experience this often after interviews, or was it just when you started out?
I experienced it during interviews when I first started. And then when I pushed my stream time back an hour to give myself a rest between work and streaming, it got a little bit easier. So sometimes I will like after the interview, I'll have extensive conversations with people. Sometimes I'm like, I'm tired. I'm gonna go to bed. And yeah. It's rather embarrassing to admit, but the reason why I pushed back my stream time in the first place was because I was interviewing somebody, and I never actually did it, but I was exhausted from work and the conversation, and I want to be very clear. I love this person. He is one of my best friends, but I was passing out during the interview, and the only thing that like really kept me up during that was the embarrassment of if I did pass out, that would be awful. And I've actually talked to him about it. I let him know because I felt so guilty. I've frozen here. And he was fine with it because he's just that chill. And I've never let that affect me ever again. If I don't feel good or I'm too exhausted to do it, I will postpone. Because my health does come first. Again, I'm half of the show. So if I'm not feeling up to snuff, I won't do it. So
what before you pushed it back by push your stream back by an hour, what compelled you to be what back what the phrase back to, I apologize, my tongue is betraying me.
I feel you.
Yeah, yeah. Um, what compelled you to have your streams and work be back to back from one another?
Um, because in the pursuit of a dream, because my dream is to full-time stream someday and have it support me. I had to very clearly make a decision to make some sacrifices. And for a long time, I was gonna only do one stream per week, one interview per week, but I couldn't. I realized that again, as if I did that, I would never get through my list. I would lose my opportunity to meet with people, and I was also addicted to talking and like meeting these people, getting them on. The grind was a lot of fun, and actually last month I decided to take a big break. I decided, you know what, I'm only going to do one interview a week now, and that hurt me. Like legitimately, it took a toll on my mental health. So overall, doing it like right after work, it's actually a very good. It helps me break away from reality and meet with somebody who is interesting and cool and have a meaningful conversation and forget my day at work. Forget that I just toiled for 10 hours straight because I have 10-hour shifts.
I have 9
and
shifts, and I feel that still.
Oh yeah, it's not easy. But I always do it because it's worth it for me. Like ultimately, the greater end result, I might be exhausted, but it is better for me. It energizes me before the end of the night, and then I get to sleep soundly. Yeah. Also, it doesn't help the fact that I work from Thursday to Sunday, which is prime streaming times, and I refuse to give up my Friday slot because Poison Point started on a Friday. That was when I first started. It was going to be every Friday, and I still am too stubborn to give up that slot. So,
so going back to the mechanics, I'm calling them. What techniques do you use to build rapport with your interviewee?
it is a huge combination of like I usually watch their streams in advance. I usually interact with them beforehand. I use my my Google Sheet, the application form, to get a gauge on them, and then I actually don't sit in a call with them until the day of. I always have them meet up with me 30 minutes in advance, and I kind of break them down. Right? I use the very standard technique where you just talk about your day. You bring them through questions. You run them through the process because I do blind interviews, much like this one. And then I let them know, and this is the truth. I always am sincere when I say this. I'm on like my 35th person. I have never once not been nervous before the stream starts. Even when it's with my best friends, with my partner, when it was with Bandit, when it was with Grandpa, it's been all the same. I get so nervous. And I don't know if you've watched and noticed the pattern of my interviews. I ask the same preliminary questions every time because those questions are icebreakers. They're very easy to answer. They get people in the groove and the jive, and it helps me get into character. It helps me remember where we are. It's comfortable. It's slow. It sets the pace and tone for the entire interview. And then when we moved on to the lore questions, I have about a 95% success rate of their nervousness has become manageable, or they're not to a point where they will freak out when you ask them a question. Not that that's ever happened. It's just I know from what I've researched and what people have told me that it's just good. And I also have apparently an uncanny ability to match people's energy. I don't know how I got that, but I just do. So
I got it. Do you ever think about how the interviewee has a incentive to keep information away from you during an interview? I mean, like we are VTubers after all. Besides presenting ourselves with cute art, that at work does have its benefits of keeping our identities obscure. And I wonder if you ever worry about that by chance.
it always crosses my mind if I don't know them.
Uh,
I have this part of my spiel before stream in our preliminary phase. I always tell my guest every time that if there is a question they don't like, they can skip me. They can type skip, they can tell me skip, and I will pretend like I never asked that question. But I've never had that happen. I've never had somebody tell me that they were uncomfortable with a question, that they don't want to answer it. Only on the lore side of things when they're like, I can't tell you that yet. On the personal questions, it's never been an issue for people, which is very surprising. You would think that a lot of people don't want to talk about themselves behind the model, but people are surprisingly open to it. I've had so many people open up in ways that I never expected. Tears being shed, character being broken because it was a great experience in the real life, and it's yeah, honestly, that's it. It's just surprising. People, what people don't realize is that VTubers like to talk about themselves literally beyond their persona. And the questions I have never breach a level of what's your social security information? No reason. I just want to know.
Speaking of, have you ever gotten a social security number?
No.
I
um,
would love to trade it with you.
the most personal interview I've ever had is actually with Bandit, who's in chat right now. Because a lot of Bandit's streaming is just him, and he has a model that he doesn't really have a lot of lore. And usually my last half of my interview is dedicated to lore, but if someone doesn't have it, then I ask them more personal questions that are somewhat discussed beforehand, or at the very least, we determine that any question is fair game. Obviously, I'm still not going to ask the social security number question, but Bandit and I, it was a very heartfelt interview. He was definitely my first crier and a tear jerker where I almost cried as well. That is the most personal I've had it. I've had a few others that we've cried on stream, but it's again, never to the point of like, I need to know everything about you. Just tell me enough about yourself that you're comfortable with.
Of course. Um, were there ever times where you felt like you had to push back on what the interviewee said or responded or said
So
said in a conversation? I suppose. Hmm?
do you mean like they say something and then it's not good for the stream, so I tell them to stop, or
I suppose that yes. Um, yeah, I suppose
so
that.
um I exercise a degree of censorship.
Uh,
Um if someone starts saying something ludicrous, which hasn't happened yet, but it is part of my contingency plan, um I just I'll deafen. It's as simple as that. If they get a word out that's bad, it's not my fault. I wasn't expecting it. Um, but for the most part, all conversation is game for me because people have varying stances. If we go back to the individualism that I like to promote,
uh,
um, I like to learn what people feel about something. So if they start opening up about it, then I want to hear them out. Um, there are very few things that I will talk about on stream, or sorry, I won't talk about on stream, um, and that hasn't happened yet, thankfully. So
mm,
the cool thing about VTubers is there's this like common knowledge, like I use the three commons. It's common knowledge, common courtesy, common respect, uh, where you will never talk about something that you wouldn't talk about on your own. And I am very quick to gauge that type of stuff. Um, so yeah, I don't want to censor anybody unless it's terrible shit.
I guess.
um, but I've gone, for myself on levels. I've taken the conversation to maybe more controversial places, but all
Mm,
in all, it's never gotten to the point where I feel like this is cancelable or
uh,
um this is not stream friendly. Um, because I also believe that certain things that happen need to be talked about and not pushed under the rug. So
mm. And what was the most controversial um, encounter you had on Poison Point?
it wasn't something that my guest talked about, although it was loosely related. It was a tangent that I brought up, but
What a quick way to put.
I have had scrapes with many people in the Twitter sphere, and one of those groups is the Lolicon community.
I got that.
I'm vehemently opposed to Lolicon, not necessarily because of what uh, it is, that it is harmless or not. Um, but I brought up the Lolicon, and actually my guest shut it down. But thankfully,
Okay.
he's a chill dude. He's totally chill.
Uh,
He just didn't want to talk about it at the time. He was too exhausted to say anything about it. So,
oh, that was that definitely was a shutdown. At least from
sorry.
what you're telling me. Wow. Hmm.
um, it's it's so weird. Like I could talk for hours about it, and it might not be the space for it. So I'll leave it up to you. But
Hey, my with my interviews. A lot of things I like to keep things very open and welcoming. Besides, it's your story.
this is true. Um, I Nah, I won't talk about it. We'll keep it down. I'll rein the girls in, the toxic pups, and I'll keep it to myself.
All right, I got you. Then we can move on to the next question. Or what is it? Whatever it's called. I haven't brushed up on my interview terminology. Oh, strings. There we go. My string of questions. How much do you worry that your interviewees may lie, or bend their truth, in their answers?
Now that you bring it up, not at all. Because as VTubers, we put on this persona. We use this as somewhat of an escape. So I'm not gonna fault anybody for lying about themselves. If the whole thing is that they can't keep a consistent story, maybe that's one thing. Like they contradict themselves, but it's never been an issue, at least not that I've noticed, and I don't think I would ever be worried about it. It's podcasting is foolproof, and it's foolproof because if I'm the interviewer and you come on my show and say something heinous, well, that's not my fault unless I knew who you were beforehand, right? If you say something out of the blue, that ain't really my problem. I am my hands are clean of that. So in that regard, if you're just going to lie to me, that doesn't really reflect on me as a person. It doesn't reflect on my content. It reflects on you because it's your stage. So it's entirely, it's entirely you. I think that's like the best way of putting it.
And you mentioned that you had interviewees that need a little bit of encouragement. Would be a good way to describe it.
I've had a few. I won't mention them, not because it's like not something they would want to talk about. I've had a few people that they're nervous, they're scared. No matter what my attempts were to try to coax them out of that state, they don't know how to continue after a certain point because they think about their answers beforehand, and when you have a blind interview, it's more difficult to get them to answer honestly. I've had interviews last a fraction of the time that I usually aim for, and I do my best to try to keep the conversation flowing, but I also recognize I can't be the only one talking. It's only happened twice, to my knowledge, and again, good friends with them. I love them to death, but an interview stage is a lot different than casual conversation, especially when you do them live like we do.
Eyeballs.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure. People don't think about that at all. There's so much pressure doing live interviews. And sometimes I tell my interviewees to not look at chat for as long as possible. And I've actually developed a contingency for if they're nervous, which I keep to myself. That's my own little secret. I know, I'm just kidding. It's a I have a channel in my Discord called Hypothetical Theoretical, and that is a place where you can ask questions that are bullshit. They have zero bearing on any conversation, and they have zero good answers. And that's a very goofy way to break the ice with somebody and get them laughing. Because if you're laughing, you're not nervous, hopefully. If you're genuinely like caught off guard and it's funny to you, that's a good approach. So
Mm-hmm.
my I'm at 6%, so I'm gonna keep it as
Mm-hmm.
long as I can go.
Well, at least drawing from at least going back to your community, or at least what you mentioned about your community's input, even though it's more for icebreaker questions would be a good way to describe them.
Yep.
Uh-huh. Because icebreakers help with the calming nerves and such. Um, how much of your audience influence your interviews by chance? Is there a by chance a ghostwriter or a or that if there's anyone in your community that helps you build the interview uh, the question sheet or
So I will occasionally reach out to friends because
mm,
sometimes like a lot of my inspiration for questions kind of hits me all at the same time. Um, Sometimes I need a little bit of a boost, like a snap of the nerve endings from somebody
uh,
else to really hit me with that. Um, I otherwise I usually come up with 99% of the material. Um,
alright.
Usually, if I do ask a question from someone else, it was originally like what the hypothetical theoretical section is, where it's a bullshit question, and I find it so funny that I try to take it to my interview as an additional way to break the ice.
Uh,
Um, if if I will also be honest, sometimes I will sometimes ask people to show up and be the one who spur on some questions because I trust the people that I ask to
uh,
keep it comfortable and welcoming. One of my ghostwriters, as it were, uh, is Space Buffoon. Um, Whenever we get to the chat question part, I can rely on them to ask questions that are uh, what's the word? Intuitive and welcoming, comforting. Sometimes people get caught off guard by their questions, and it's good, like in a good way.
mm,
And also, a VTuber called PK Ninja always
mm,
asks, even though they're simple, the questions about their favorite food. And um, as someone who is a content creator and who streams on Twitch, I get nervous when chat doesn't scroll. So I can only imagine if you're on an interview show and you're getting asked questions, and then um, I point towards chat to ask questions, and then nobody scrolls.
mm.
It could be very nerve wracking. Like the fate of the interview was decided by their popularity, which it isn't. I can guarantee you it's not. It's just sometimes timing is bad. But overall, I have a good reliance on Buffy and PK in that regard.
Mm. Um, how much of your audience comes from your interview streams,
Um, I
or should I
yeah,
say
that
maybe followers by chance? Either or.
I would say I think 60%. I would say.
Uh,
Um, I do get a large margin of people who show up for the other person. Sometimes they don't come back, which is
uh,
fine by me. You know, it is what it is.
yeah.
Sometimes they stick,
Mm,
and uh, the people that have stuck around, they really love it. They love the questions, the atmosphere, the vibe, and much like me, they love to learn about new people. And yeah,
yeah.
Admittedly, I have lost a good chunk of my audience that came to watch me to play video games all the time, which was a sacrifice I was willing to make. But I will be getting back into more often, so hopefully we'll see the people who like to see both of them, the interviews and the gaming. But for right now, I wanted to focus in on my interviews, which did come to at the sacrifice of my normal viewer base not really showing up.
Your normal.
Yeah, my normies,
Mm-hmm.
my shrimps.
Mm. I never thought of frogs eating shrimp. I never
You'd
know
be
it.
surprised.
I never knew they would be a part of it, part of a frog's diet. Mm.
What could I say? It's part of the human genes of whatever I am. I just can't help myself.
Did you ever struggle with networking?
That one is rough,
Mm.
um, because we would all like to think that we need to be better at networking, but sometimes there's just not a lot you can do.
Mm.
Um, I'm trying not to let my early Twitter days determine if I struggled or was good at it.
Uh,
Right now, I have a very strong network. Not people that I know loosely, but people that I know closely.
mm-hmm.
So I would say now I'm good. At the beginning, everyone I knew was loose. They were loose friends. Um, and some of those people, they don't talk to me, not because they hate me or anything. It's just we didn't connect. Um, yeah. uh, so it's not really an answer to your question, and I'm sorry. I just
Oh
there's no way to be
no. I
like,
see.
yeah, I was good at it, because
Mm.
when I first started on Twitter, I exploded. Um, before I even streamed, before the day of the stream, I
Mm.
was at like 8,000 followers, and I don't know how I did it. I'll be honest with you. I no-lifed Twitter and managed to get that many people to follow me. Now I sit at 14.6K. I've slowed down substantially.
Mm.
Probably get a follower like every 5 days. Um, my audience is still there. Like I still see the same people liking my posts, but um, I did have an epiphany at one point that maybe the number isn't everything, as we're all taught. Um, so I reeled it back. I reeled back my energy so that I could focus on the close connections and closer networks. Yeah.
Would you say your most recent tweets is a extension of that? I,
Um.
as quoted from the tweet you posted about like 21 hours ago, as of this interview, I took a long break from it, distancing myself from the grind because for nearly 7 months now, I have been burnt out and didn't want to share things that I didn't believe in.
Back in my YouTube days, my motto was this was before I had come to the realization that I was trans, but my motto was just a relatable guy, and I've always like put myself on that pedestal of I want to be like this at all times. I want to be genuine. So if I say something on Twitter that is actually how I feel, there's no lies, no fluffing it up, no anything like that. And when I was no lifing Twitter, I admittedly got extremely burnt out because I started the era with a few other people of VTuber supporters. Like that was my thing. Moai, Mummy, Valentine, um, grandpa and one other person that I'm blanking on his name. But when we did that, I wasn't the support Illuminati. I wasn't expecting to be used like a tool rather than a human, and it really killed my motivation to be on Twitter. And it's taken me a very long time to even start posting the way that I used to, because I had a very jaded outlook on it. And in reference to the tweet I made, giving people advice and just reminding myself like my goals. It is again a sacrifice to be on social media, just as it's a sacrifice to make videos or content to stream. For a lot of people, VTubing and streaming and content creation does not come for free. It does not come at a profit, at least at the start. So it's a very big sacrifice of your time, because time is money, and you got to put something in to get something out someday, you know? Yeah.
I got that. Certainly, I get that. I feel like I've definitely spent about like $50 so far on just solely aesthetics, different costumes, countless hours making the models to fit them. So yeah, it costs money. Cold hard dough.
Yeah, I've probably sunk like, at this point, probably like 5,000. But with that knowledge, the good portion of it is purchasing my computer, because I built it for this. And then everything else is like the art, the assets, the my model, like this one that you see here, my prior PNGs that you saw, everything. Because I'm not an artist, I can't pick it myself. I've made 2 assets for myself, and they're usually jokes. So yeah, I will say though, since swapping over to 3D, it's definitely a lot easier to make your own art at that point than it is to commission a new piece every time. So
yeah, I learned that. Yeah, I learned that too.
And then you dabble a little bit in your own model making, which is not that hard actually. I was surprised. Then you can add little tweaks, little props, little different colors, different outfits yourself, and save more money.
Yeah. Actually, on that topic, yeah, I might as well reel it into the next section. I've noticed you use a lot of neon colors and
Oh
dark
yes.
hues in your streaming setup and assets. Uh, first, let's rewind the clock a bit. First, looking back onto your older videos, purple has been remained a consistent color in your aesthetic. What's so significant about it?
Purple is based, and it stems from when I was conceptualizing what I wanted to be as a VTuber. I showed my friends who weren't very well versed in VTubing, and I explained to them, you know, what it is. The bare bones explanation of they're usually like anthropomorphic or like humans with animalistic features. And
Kimo Mimi or Kimo Nami, whatever. Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
one of those.
Yeah.
And I at the time I was really into Arknights. I still love that game. It's a great gacha. And there's one character in that game who is my absolute favorite. Her name is Blue Poison, and she is the only poison dart frog in the game,
Uh,
and I, for some reason, wanted to, you know, I wanted to like extend that. I wanted to be that extra operator that was a poison dart frog. And my friend told me that purple poison dart frogs are real. I looked it up, and sure enough, they were. With an asterisk that it's actually a subgenus of of dart frogs. Um, and ever since they told me purple, it just kind of stuck. I I loved it. It just fit my aesthetic so well. Um, I didn't want to dabble in a different color.
uh,
I tried to dabble in gold a little bit because golden dart frogs are the most poisonous, one of the most poisonous animals on the planet.
yeah,
But it just, I had to settle on the purple. The purple is much less known. It's more unique. So
I got that. Is there a certain feeling that you want the audience interviewees of uh, your stream to feel while watching?
um
Because like color theory, what's the word? It is also linked to emotional expression, or at least sort of like that. Yeah, this emotional expression.
um I have thought about it. Um I've thought about what does purple mean? Like how does it affect the viewer's eyes? And ultimately, like, because I know a little bit of color theory. When I look at purple, I am comforted. It's not a like what blues do, where not that it's depressing, it's a depressant. Calms you, and purple is like a middle ground because it's not a full depressant. Um, I don't know. Honestly, I just like it because it's cool. Um, I think that it segued very well into the cyberpunk theme, so it always stuck. The neons and all that, and yeah, like
I do want to ask though. Um, I used to be a kid fascinated with reptiles and amphibians. But after double checking on what dart frogs look like, they don't particularly have red irises and green pupils. Where did that come from? Or what inspired you there? Hmm?
uh
Or the eyes are the window to the soul.
this is
So
true.
please explain your soul.
We do love our eyes when they glow, and I'm glad I was able to do that once before my phone died. um, so the green, I don't know. I really like it. It came up in the design process for this model, and it just worked. Like when we were looking at it with the matching colors and how it looked, it just looked really good. Um, and we thought that it was a great contrast to the purple, because if all of my body was purple, um, there's not a good point to stare at. It's everything.
Uh,
Um, so having the green eyes, and I know you, or pupils, I should say, and I know you mentioned the red irises.
yes.
They're
Uh,
they're
yeah.
they're like a pinkish red.
Uh,
Uh, it it is a glow factor because they glow. Oh, well,
uh,
right when my phone dies. Here I got my contingency. No
yeah.
one
I
will
think
ever know.
on my side, I think I'm noticing on my side I'm seeing some glitches. Hmm.
Okay. Uh, I've fully changed my phone. No longer in commission. But I still get everything here. Um, and I apologize for that. I did everything I could to keep it alive.
Oh, speaking of that, let's shrink you down a little so you're covering too much of the chat.
Yeah, class change for free.
Uh, from dynamic to static. You know. So everybody. Speaking of at least frogs, or on frogs, or at least dark frogs,
Mhm.
I'm sure you're familiar with the fact that frogs can breathe through both their skin and lungs, correct?
Yep, I'm familiar.
Yeah. Uh, uh, uh.
hmm
How long has it been since your last shower?
I shower daily.
You dang.
I take very good care of myself. I make sure to
Mhm.
moisturize.
Breathe. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
You
nice
breathing
and
good?
breathable, not breathable. I'm breathable.
Uh, you think you would need a little bit of water right now? A little bit of a breather right now? A bit of a break, if you will?
Oh, yeah, I'm down to take a break.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. All right. All right, people. We will be taking a water break or like a little bit of a thirst quencher, something to a little bit of breather. If you have any questions for Irisu, type them in the chat, or if you commented already, I'll pretty much be scrolling up through the chat. So yeah.
Bye.
So yeah. Going to be going through the chat now. So. Mm, let's see. You got your sips?
Yep, I got my sips in, doing my
Uh,
stretches.
Actually, I'm going to stretch too.
I don't realize how much I actually shrimp. Like, even during my
So,
normal
yeah.
interviews, I crouch so much.
So, yeah. My entire streams involve me having a very non-ergonomic sitting position in addition to leaning position. I have like a regular computer chair, which is probably better for your back than a regular game for a gaming chair. I barely use it properly while in these things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm always leaning forward for these.
I got that.
If you don't mind, I want to answer one of is it Danoris? Danoris
Uh,
Bilvidis?
yes, that would be Daenerys. Yeah. What?
So they ask, will VTubers at the end of the day be tied down to the video game genre, or will the interaction with other things like podcast expand into something larger for the future? I won't lie to you. I don't think that newer VTubers should only play video games. There needs to be something else that you do, whether it be a craft, podcasting, seminars, talking. If you're just a collab streamer, there needs to be something else that you bring, because all of the big VTubers play video games. That's all they do. Or at least a large majority. They always do something else on top of that, but they have the benefit of their corporate stuff. I personally believe that the next steps for somebody small is to get out of the gaming sphere. You can still play video games. That's not what I'm saying is to stop playing games forever. Should definitely like you definitely need to try something new.
You shouldn't put too many apples in the same basket.
Is it up to the older generations of VTubers to bring change? I don't think it's a question of old versus new. I think that it is whoever decides, whoever decides first. It should be what happens next. Back to the individual. Don't wait for somebody else to do it. Just do it. It's as simple as that.
Mm. Is Germa is Germa a VTuber right now, or is
No.
it? Okay, okay. I think I remember Germa from like the Flesh Tuber thing, or like all streamers are VTubers or something like that. Someone using the VTuber tag on Twitch. Don't know.
uh,
I just need to ask that because I had never heard of Germa in about like I don't know a year or since that controversy.
uh, is there really controversy around Germa?
I don't know. I don't know.
He's a dude that I respect a lot. The thing with Germa is that he's one of the few big fellas that
Yeah.
I know that stay genuine throughout all of their content creation. Uh, I the proverbial Kool-Aid, as we would like to say, when you kind of just give in to your audience's desires
Huh?
to make a living. But with his case, I've always felt that everything that he does is done for him. Like you can see it in his tone of voice, the way that he talks, the way that he holds his events. Like I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Germa dollhouse.
Nope.
One
Not
of
a
his
clue.
it's one of his biggest experiments that he's ever done, where he did real life Sims, where he was the Sim being controlled by chat, and it's genius. Like he put a lot of effort into it. He put so much into the acting and character role, so that when he broke down laughing, it was that much funnier. Um, yeah, his controversy is being genuine.
I see.
Mhm.
Mm.
I have a lot of respect for him
Mm.
as a content creator. Um, I've told somebody else this before because they asked me it on stream, but I would love to have him as a guest. It's a pipe dream because he's one of he's within top 50 most popular streamers of all time. But it would be really cool. Not because obviously I have I'm a big fan of his, but I want to pick his brain.
I get that.
I'm very morbid about that. I love to interrogate people because there's so much to learn. Everybody has a different approach. They think differently about things, and I think with the Germa flair, it'd be pretty funny.
Mm-hmm. Why do you call it an interrogation?
uh, because of the character I play.
I see. Welcome
I
character.
it's another part of my spiel that I do. Reddit is like the last thing I say. I let them know, along with the skipping part, um, that if they're uncomfortable, no matter what I say, I could be playing the bit that I've kidnapped them and I'm interrogating them. But I always let them know that that is never the case. Really, I'm just playing a character. I want them to be comfortable, and I know chat feels the same way because as much as I try to be a villain, they make fun of me for being a goober instead. So it works out. It's a good balance between everything.
You're like the ice.
Yeah.
Try and try to be a villain, but as it turns out,
Silly goober.
yeah.
Evil.
Mm-hmm.
um Honestly, for me, the reason why I put on the bit is it's like we mentioned before that I'm introverted.
Yeah.
It can be a little bit hard for me to talk to people. I think the act in and of itself of playing a character is what helps me break out of that shell, to where I'm no longer nervous. And yeah, like if you ever see me pop into an interview or like I do one of my things and I don't have the voice, usually that's how you could tell that I'm going to be extremely casual and not try. But that's for my personal streams, not for interviews. So
Would you say such a persona gives you confidence in what?
yeah, definitely a lot of confidence. When I get to live Neo, who is this character, when I get to live her, I feel as though I become somebody else. And even if by the end of the interview I've lost that spark, that part that's the villain, it's much more comfortable for me to finish. You know, like I'm not stressing about it anymore. The fear has subsided.
Mm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm just laughing
No,
at the silly goober evil.
Oh, that gives me enough time to figure out whether or not I should ask. Oh, that and find it also.
I mean, I'm down for answering pretty much anything.
Mm.
Not the social security though. I don't have one of those.
Opinion on the Bosnian War?
Uh, not enough information to give you a solid opinion on that.
There we go. I found it. I found the proper question. How much of your online persona is representative of yourself?
All of it.
Is it perhaps also representative of what you want to be?
Ish.
Ish, of course.
So this character that I play, for everyone who is here that knows my streams, I'll break a real the barrier, the what's the word, your immersion. I'll break your immersion for a moment. So this character that I made is originally the extension of my depression and anxiety manifested into somebody, because I was having a hard time coping with it. And when I made the decision to turn her into that sort of creature, that manifestation, it was like it all melted away. Like I could healthily project how I truly feel in an environment that can be creative and entertaining and evil. And even though that's slightly shifted, and it's not exactly what it was, because people change. Excuse me. People change. We're always constantly molding ourselves into a different shape at all times. Even though at her base, Neo represents that, it's not how I want to feel all the time, and it's also not how I feel all the time. So that's where playing the character part is it works. It works for me. I can easily slip in and out, and especially with practice as well. I practice the voice a lot, and the mannerisms a lot, and yeah, I've made it work.
Looking ahead, the future days.
Mm-hmm.
What are your goals?
The the classic interview.
Yeah. Let's say, yeah. What are your goals? Let's put it in the confines of as a VTuber. So yeah, go ahead.
I'm turning 26 in November. And I've always told myself that by 30 I want to figure out what I want to do with myself. And I think I'll continue down this path for the next 4 years, reevaluate then, yada yada, if I still find it fun. If I do, I'll keep doing it. If not, whatever. But on the topic of I want to continue at 30, my hope is to, during that point, I want to hit partner and I want to interview what was the number again? It's like nearly 200 people. It's a lot of people. I want to introduce story elements. I want to improve constantly. I want the everything that looks or that is on stream that you see to become even more streamlined. I will continue to sink money into this because it's a passion, and it's cool.
Did this contrast? Does this contrast now? Wait, let me rephrase that. Were these goals in place when you first started out, especially started out your interview series?
No, it's shifted for the better from those days. Because when I first started the interview stuff, because I hadn't had the time to express the aspect of this character, I told myself I would give it 20 interviews. And by the 20th one, if I just wasn't feeling it anymore, I would be done streaming. And that changed. There was an interview I had with the Flesh Tuber, actually, with Crowbird Cannon. And his perspective on life really changed how I felt. And then I interviewed with someone else named Eotidis, who is she likes to push the boundaries and the envelope of what it means to be lewd as a streamer, but she also gave me a lot of good advice. So, and she was very close to being my 20th interview. And at that point I was like, okay, something's got to change because I love this. I love it. I want to keep doing it for a long time. What can I do to continue on this path? And funnily enough, the first thing that needed to be done was getting on HRT for Reels. And when I did that, my life improved drastically. I still struggle, like I'm again a human being. But yeah, that since that point, it's always been an uphill, and only occasionally do I feel like I slip down a few levels, and I need to pick myself back up and keep going. Yes, I did. I did one day go. Yes, I want to be frog. I'll no longer pay my taxes, and I'll be free from this mortal coil.
How do you plan on? Well, let's first ask. Would you like to build up your community more, your fan base, if you will?
Always. An aspect of the interviews that I don't talk about, even though it's like on paper it seems right, but in reality it's a little bit less so. The success rate is pretty low. There is some growth that comes from interviewing people from different communities.
There's definitely a networking side of this.
Yeah, there's a lot of like you could have somebody on stream, 10 people come on by, you might walk out of that with one extra person who likes to watch your stuff. So it's a slow and steady growth. Is it going to remain that consistent forever? Maybe not. You could say something they don't like, yada yada. It's all about continuing. goodness, I lost my train of thought again. I do want to continue to grow my community as large as I can. I'm afraid of the day when I will not have the opportunity to talk on a personal level with all of my fans and my friends. So I'm gonna make the most of what I have now. But we'll see. You know, it's all hopeful, wishful thinking. The plan is always there to continue to grow. So
You worried for the day in which you're going to pretty much be entertaining a auditorium worth of people?
yeah, it it does stress me out when I have like a bigger event and it pops off. I have some people stop on by, or a lot of people, I should say, and chat's scrolling. I get nervous because I have had this ingrained habit to read every message that comes on through. Even if, like during an interview, I don't say them out loud, I always read everything. So I am afraid of the day when I will miss people, or I won't be able to get to what they said because there's too many people talking. But I think that's why I want to continue doing the interview thing, because it still allows me to connect with at least one person. And I think that in the long run, it'll be healthy overall.
Gives you a little bit of the occasional and very necessary dose of personal connection.
Yeah, the human connections, as they say.
After all, and at least from what I've learned in positive psychology, people matter.
Oh, yes. It doesn't matter how introverted you may feel, how, for a lot of people, how worth it you may feel, of like somebody else's time, worthy of someone else's time. You gotta find somebody. There needs to be a human connection somewhere. And I think that if one day, like magically on this hypothetical theoretical, as I say, if I have 10,000 viewers per se, I will honestly always give it my best shot to keep the conversation going with people, not just myself. And that's all I can really wish for.
What other worries do you have as a VTuber? What could also stop you from continuing your streams?
Stopping me from continuing. Maybe like a financial crisis. It's really external factors in that regard. I don't know. I don't want to jinx myself because I do say some pretty stark, controversial opinions on Twitter sometimes, but cancellation? I don't know. I've not had a lot of people like drop into my DMs and insult me like I see a lot of other people do. So it I don't know. That one's a hard one to answer because it's hard to project and see that far if that was to happen.
Why is it hard?
Mostly because life is full of mysteries. It's a little cheap. It's a cheap answer, but just as you don't walk around every day stressed that a car will hit you and take away everything that you have, because that's something that you cannot worry about aside from being cautious or predict. You gotta focus on the here and now and what you can do. As an influencer, this is actually one of the controversial opinions. As a VTuber influencer, I still think it's just as important to try to influence positively and criticize positively as well. Although a lot of people nowadays think that criticism is all negativity. Well, it really isn't.
And of course, it's very necessary if you have a large platform in order to broadcast your voice responsibly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How do you remain consistent with
Consistency, what's that?
your content? I mean, like, do you actually? That's a good question. I mean, another question. Do you dislike consistency? I personally hate it.
I am known to dislike repetition.
Uh,
I I have in recent years, I should say recent year, enjoyed the ability to write down a schedule and keep myself to it. I hate writing down a public schedule, but I do have a calendar right next to me that I shift and constantly mark up what I'm doing so that I have reminders. For whatever reason, I used to hate planning a stream, but when it came to the interviews, Tuesday and or Friday were like, those are far enough apart where like I can remain consistent. And if something comes up, I never let myself stress over it. So to remain consistent, ultimately it does change from person to person. But for me, being consistent is not stressing about consistency, which is it's a little ironic. But as I've found myself letting go of being punctual, I've actually become more punctual and more self-responsible in that regard. So. Is it all right if I answer a few of Daenaris's questions?
Of course. I mean, like, it's chat questions are always open.
Okay. I just wanted to touch on a few things here. So how much do I prep beforehand, and who do I decide to interview? I decided to interview people based on how I feel, because I have that energy reading thing. Not that it's like a special ability or skill. But I always judge how much energy do I have? Can I match their energy this day? No, I'm not feeling it. Is it on a Tuesday when I have the day off? Yes, okay, I can dedicate as much energy as I need to that. So it's never like I don't go down a list because I don't think that is always going to be fair. Though people may argue that if you signed up first, you should be on first. I think it's better to have a someone on that you can truly like elevate with your energy than just you know what, Super COD Player 5. I'm gonna interview him. I'm not feeling it today, but I'm gonna interview him. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then the just to touch on the controversy part, controversy is a mixed bag. Mono is right, and also in a way wrong. And I'll touch on that because if I purposely spread bad controversy, then what I want are bad viewers. That's just what it is. So if I go on Twitter and I say the R slur, for example, or something like that, that now my audience becomes the people who will call me based and who enjoy that kind of thing. And I will alienate the people who you could consider are good viewers. But now the bad viewers have become my good viewers. And a lot of people just they don't really see that. They think that it's only good and bad. Um, the based crowd versus the quote unquote normal crowd. It really is just like it's a matter of what you're looking for. Yeah, it depends on what you want your image to be. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I will say, on the point of desperate people, or for some people who are desperate, any viewers are good viewers. I don't think that is true. I really think that if you have a strong moral and ethical code for yourself, that you should never break it for the sake of viewing or for views. Just annoying viewers that flock to controversies. That's fair. That's fair. But some people want that, to be fair. But the I don't know. The ultimate thing is stick to your guns, and you will grow, even if it doesn't look like it's the best way to do it. You need to remain consistent to your character as a different type of consistency. Touching on that, and you'll attract people who are very like-minded to you. So yeah.
Vibing cat on the left.
Oh.
That's a directional error.
I mean, you are to my left, so.
True. But, is there any additional information or insights you'd like to share regarding your VTuber journey or your unique content approach?
So I try to market myself as a horror streamer, because I like to make people uncomfortable, not in a oh my god this is weird way, but in a oh my god this is creepy and scary, but I want to keep watching because I want to see what happens next. And I actually find that a lot of people don't do that in terms of their content. For a lot of people, the horror aspect of it is a side bit. This was a Twitter post of a creepy image, but they don't live they don't try to push the horror part as part of their main content. Obviously, I can't do that all the time. That would be kind of strange if I was only making scary things. I don't know if many people would watch, because again, there's a human aspect that people come to streams for. They want to connect with you and not with a bit all the time. But at the end of the day, if I invert, no, that's not the word. Fuck, I lost it.
Hey, you can always re-rail a derailed train.
No, hold on, I got this. I'm on the train. If I invert your expectations, that's not the word that I use, but if I can make you double take, then that is a successful video to me, or a successful piece of content, or a successful stream. Yeah. Tangent saying discomfort streamer all the way, baby. It is true.
Do you have any upcoming events or streams that our audience here should be on the lookout for? I know for a fact you're doing like a space themed kind of interview.
Yeah,
series,
so I'm a little behind.
A little behind. Oh,
I'm behind on my promo, because I'm doing 3 things this month that is concurrent with almost every single day. and that is I'm interviewing space VTubers. That's all the people I'm going to be interviewing this month. I'm taking part of the Spooktacular Streamathon for Gamers Outreach. So I'm going to be streaming on the side for that as well. And then I'm also participating in a blood drive event, which, because it's free, I'm not going to be worrying about pushing both. It's just incentivizing people to get their blood drawn and to donate to their centers, because you could actually make money off of donating blood. Fun fact.
I'm aware. Yeah. Blood,
So
bone
all
marrow.
that stuff is super easy and convenient. You just feel a little woozy, but if you take care of yourself, it's no big deal. Red Cross steals your blood. So yeah, this Tuesday, so tomorrow, I'm going to be interviewing with the first member of a VTuber trio known as Nova Swarm. They are absolutely beautifully talented people. So I'll be interviewing with Lyra, who is she's the purple spider android. I love her a ton. And that'll be happening tomorrow at 7 p.m. PST, 10 p.m. EST if you're an East Coaster.
Damn East Coasters.
Yeah,
living the wrong beer.
Living in the cold but humid West Coast is my territory. So
cold and humid. Oh, that. Okay. Yeah, I can fight. Anyway. How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling great.
All right, everyone. We will be concluding this episode of the show. Thank you very much for coming to the stream for the VOD. Thank you, Frog, for your time. You chatters and VOD watchers will be able to find her socials down in the description below. Check her out. Like, subscribe, and yeah, have a good time, y'all.
And goodbye, everybody.
Yeah. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye. Bye. Bye.
Do you want me to do my my outro?
Actually, what? Oh, there we go.
Oh.
Let's fade back in. Go ahead, do your outro.
Well, maybe not my my patented outro.
So it's up for grabs. It's not copyrighted or trademarked. Gotcha.
But yeah, sort of. Good evening, my esteemed watchers, and we'll see you next time. Good night. Yeah, that's it.
That's it. All right.
That's the bit.
That's the bit. All right. Well, I'll see y'all guys later. In the Discord server. I'm in the Discord server. Or Irisu's Discord server. So see y'all.
Goodbye.